Jack Reynolds jerked awake at 5:07 a.m. The sound that had pulled him from sleep wasn't his alarm. It was something far more primal, the terrified scream of his daughter. He was already halfway down the hall before his conscious mind caught up with his paternal instinct. The plush carpet absorbed the sound of his footsteps as he rushed toward Lily's room, heart hammering in his chest. The door flew open under his hand. In the soft glow of her butterfly nightlight, Jack saw his 6-year-old daughter sitting bolt upright in bed, her blonde curls damp with sweat, her small chest heaving with sobs. "Lily, sweetheart, what's wrong?" Jack knelt beside her bed, his voice gentle despite the adrenaline coursing through his system. "Daddy!" Lily flung herself into his arms with such force that he nearly toppled backward. Her entire body trembled against his chest. "Daddy, please don't go today. Please don't leave the house." Jack wrapped his strong arms around her tiny frame, feeling her heart pounding like a frightened bird against his chest. At 54, Jack Reynolds had negotiated billion-dollar deals, faced down corporate raiders, and rebuilt his life after losing his beloved wife to cancer 3 years ago. But nothing in his vast experience had prepared him for the raw terror in his daughter's voice. "It's okay, sweetheart. It was just a bad dream." He stroked her hair, feeling the dampness of fear sweat beneath his fingers. "No!" Lily pulled back, her blue eyes wide and desperate in the dim light. "It wasn't just a dream, Daddy. It was real. I saw it. The big black car, it crashed. There was fire and smoke and people screaming your name. If you go to work today, you'll never come home again. Never, ever." A chill crept up Jack's spine that had nothing to do with the pre-dawn air conditioning. The absolute conviction in Lily's voice was unsettling. This wasn't the usual monster-under-the-bed nightmare. "Lily, honey, please, Daddy." Her small hands clutched at the fabric of his t-shirt. "Promise me you won't go. Promise me you'll stay home today." Jack opened his mouth to offer reassurances, to explain that grown-ups couldn't just skip work because of bad dreams, no matter how scary. But the words died in his throat as he looked into her tear-streaked face. In that moment, she looked so much like her mother that it took his breath away. "Let me tuck you back in and we'll talk about this over breakfast, okay?" he said instead, gently laying her back against her pillows. "You have to promise," Lily insisted, refusing to release his hand. "Cross your heart, promise." Jack sighed. He had a critical meeting with Everest Capital at 10, potentially a $200 million deal that could transform Reynolds Development's entire portfolio. William had been working on bringing these investors to the table for months. Missing it was unthinkable. "And yet, I promise I'll think about it very carefully," he said, tucking the covers around her small shoulders. "Try to go back to sleep, princess. The sun isn't even up yet." But Lily's eyes remained wide open, watchful and afraid, as he quietly closed her door. Jack patted down to the kitchen, the house silent except for the soft hum of the refrigerator. He started the coffee maker, his mind replaying Lily's words. He wasn't a superstitious man. He built his success on hard data and calculated risks, not premonitions and omens. But something about Lily's terror felt different, more specific, more urgent. The soft padding of slippered feet announced Amanda's arrival before she entered the kitchen. His new wife of 8 months stood in the doorway, her silk robe cinched tightly at her waist, her auburn hair tousled from sleep, but somehow still perfect. "Was that Lily I heard crying?" she asked, her voice husky from sleep. Jack nodded, pouring coffee into 2 mugs. "Bad dream, a really bad one from the looks of it." Amanda accepted the coffee with a grateful smile. At 35, she was nearly 20 years his junior, but their connection had been immediate when they met during a PR campaign for Reynolds Development. After 3 years of loneliness following his wife's death, Amanda's vibrant presence had felt like sunshine breaking through clouds. "Poor thing," Amanda said, sipping her coffee. "What was it about?" "She dreamed about me being in a car accident. She's begging me not to go to work today." Amanda's perfectly sculpted eyebrows rose. "Surely you're not considering that. You have the Everest Capital meeting this morning." "I know." "Jack, she's 6. Kids have nightmares. It's normal." Amanda set down her mug and moved behind him, her hands working the tension in his shoulders. "You can't seriously be thinking of canceling the most important meeting of the year because of a child's bad dream." Jack rolled his shoulders under her touch. "Of course not. But I've never seen her this upset before. It was unsettling." Amanda's hands stilled. "Unsettling?" "Jack, it was a nightmare. Nothing more. You're the CEO of a billion-dollar company. William has been working for months to get these investors on board. You can't jeopardize everything because Lily had a bad dream. Something in her tone made Jack turn to face her. The concern in Amanda's eyes seemed genuine, but there was something else there too, something harder, more insistent. I'll talk to her over breakfast, Jack said, ending the discussion. See if she's calmed down. But Lily hadn't calmed down. If anything, her fear had intensified in the light of day. She sat at the breakfast table in her favorite unicorn pajamas, barely touching her pancakes, her eyes red-rimmed and anxious. Daddy, you promised you'd think about staying home, she said the moment Jack sat down. Amanda set a plate of perfectly arranged fruit beside Jack's coffee. Lily, sweetheart, your daddy has very important meetings today. People are counting on him. Lily's gaze never left her father's face. The black car's going to crash, Daddy. I saw it. Please don't go. Jack felt torn between worlds. The rational business world where meetings weren't missed and deals worth hundreds of millions weren't jeopardized because of childish fears. And the world of fatherhood, where his daughter's tears held more weight than any contract. His phone buzzed with a text from William Parker. Everest representatives arrived early, already at the office, eager to meet you. This is it, Jack, the big one. Amanda peered over his shoulder at the message. You see, they're already there. William has everything set up. You need to go, Jack. Lily's small hand reached across the table to grip his. Please, Daddy, I'm so scared. Jack looked from his daughter's pleading face to Amanda's expectant one. The moment stretched, taut with unspoken tension. His phone rang. William's name flashed on the screen. Jack! William's voice boomed the moment he answered. Where are you, man? These guys are serious players. Hughes and Donovan from Everest Capital. They've got the full funding package ready to discuss. $200 million, Jack. That's life-changing money for the company. I know, Will, but I've got a situation at home. Jack turned away slightly, lowering his voice. Lily's really upset this morning. She had a nightmare about me being in an accident. There was a pause on the other end of the line. You're kidding, right? You're not seriously considering missing this meeting because your kid had a bad dream? Put that way, it did sound absurd. Jack ran a hand through his salt and pepper hair. No, of course not. It's just, Jack, listen to me. William's voice took on the serious tone that had helped them navigate countless business crises over their 25-year friendship. I've never asked you for much, but I'm asking now. Don't blow this. These investors flew in specifically to meet you. If you don't show, they'll take it as a sign we're not serious. Jack felt the weight of responsibility pressing down on him. 200 employees depended on Reynolds' development for their livelihoods. The Everest deal would secure the company's future for years to come. And yet, he looked at Lily, her small face a mask of terror and desperate hope. Will, I need to call you back, Jack said finally. Jack. He ended the call before William could protest further. Amanda stood with the arms crossed, her expression a mixture of disbelief and irritation. You can't be serious. I haven't decided yet. What is there to decide? This is your company, your life's work. Her voice rose slightly before she controlled it, casting a glance at Lily. Can I speak to you in private for a moment? Jack followed Amanda into the living room, leaving Lily pushing pancake pieces around her plate. Jack, I understand you want to be a good father, Amanda said, her voice low and intense. But you're teaching Lily that manipulative behavior works, that she can control you with tears and tantrums. This isn't a tantrum, Amanda. I've never seen her this scared before. Of course she's scared. She had a nightmare, but children need to learn the difference between dreams and reality, and they need to learn that the world doesn't stop turning because they're afraid. Amanda placed a hand on his chest, her tone softening. You have responsibilities, Jack, to your company, to your employees, to our future. Our future. The words hung in the air between them. Amanda had embraced the role of stepmother, but there were times, like now, when Jack sensed a subtle competition between his wife and daughter for his attention, his loyalty. I know my responsibilities, he said quietly. Amanda's phone chimed with a text message. She glanced at it, then quickly tucked the phone into her robe pocket. Too quickly. Who was that? Jack asked. Just the spa confirming my appointment for later, she said, but her eyes slid away from his. Jack, please, be reasonable about this. Go to your meeting. I'll stay home with Lily today, take her mind off this silly nightmare. Jack studied his wife's beautiful face. He'd always prided himself on being an excellent judge of character. It was part of what made him successful in business. But in this moment, something felt off. A barely perceptible dissonance, like an instrument slightly out of tune in an orchestra. His phone rang again. William for the third time in 10 minutes. Decision time. Jack walked back to the kitchen where Lily sat, shoulders hunched, looking smaller and more vulnerable than her years. "Lily," he said, crouching beside her chair, "I need you to tell me exactly what you saw in your dream, every detail you can remember." Lily's blue eyes met his, relief washing over her face at being taken seriously. "It was the big black car, Daddy. The one with the special license plate that says Reynolds 1. You were supposed to be inside it, but you weren't." Her voice dropped to a whisper. "The car was driving on the big bridge, and then something went wrong. The car couldn't stop. It hit a truck, and there was fire and smoke everywhere. People were screaming your name because they thought you were inside." Jack felt the blood drain from his face. His company car, a black Mercedes S-Class with the vanity plate Reynolds 1, was indeed scheduled to pick him up this morning. The route to his office crossed the Franklin Bridge. He hadn't told Lily any of those details. "What made the car crash, sweetheart? Do you remember?" Lily scrunched her face in concentration. "The driver kept pressing the stop thing." "The brakes?" "Yes, the brakes. But they didn't work. The car just kept going faster and faster until it hit the big truck." Tears welled in her eyes again. "Please don't go, Daddy, please." Jack made his decision. "I'm staying home today," he said loud enough for Amanda to hear from the living room. Lily threw her arms around his neck, relief flooding her small body. Amanda appeared in the doorway, her expression incredulous. "Jack, you can't be serious." "I've never been more serious in my life." Jack stood, Lily still clinging to him like a koala. "Will can handle the meeting. That's why I have a CFO." "This is insane." Amanda's voice took on an edge he'd never heard before. "You're throwing away a $200 million opportunity because of a child's nightmare. Do you hear yourself?" "I hear myself choosing my daughter's peace of mind over a business deal," Jack said calmly. "There will be other deals. Not like this one." Amanda's face flushed with anger. "These investors specifically wanted to meet with you. William can't close this alone. He'll have to try." Jack reached for his phone. "I need to call him back." "Don't do this, Jack." Amanda's voice had dropped to a warning tone. "You'll regret it." Their eyes locked in the silent battle. For the first time since they'd met, Jack felt he was seeing a side of Amanda he didn't recognize and didn't particularly like. He called William, turning slightly away from Amanda's glare. "Will, I'm not coming in today," he said when his CFO answered. "What?" William's voice rose in disbelief. "Jack, you can't bail on this meeting. These guys want to talk to you, not me." "I'm sorry, but I can't leave Lily today. She's too upset." Jack kept his voice firm. "You know this deal inside and out, Will. You've been leading the negotiations for months. Handle it for me." "Jack, listen to me. You are making a catastrophic mistake." William's voice dropped to a fierce whisper. "Do you have any idea how hard I worked to get these guys to the table? How many strings I had to pull? This isn't just about the money. This is about the future of the company, our legacy." "I understand that, but I'm not coming in. That's final." There was a long silence on the other end of the line. "Fine," William said at last, his tone icy, "but don't blame me when this falls apart." Jack ended the call, feeling both the weight and relief of his decision. Lily's arms tightened around his neck, and he could feel her small body relaxing against him, the terrible tension of fear beginning to ebb away. Amanda stood watching them, her face a mask of barely controlled fury. Without another word, she turned and walked upstairs, her footsteps unnaturally heavy on the carpeted stairs. Jack carried Lily to the living room sofa and sat with her on his lap. "Feel better now?" She nodded against his chest. "Thank you for believing me, Daddy." The simple gratitude in her voice made him wonder how often he'd dismissed her fears or concerns because he was too busy, too preoccupied with work. Since losing her mother, had he truly been present for Lily? Or had he buried himself in work, leaving the real parenting to nannies and now Amanda? "I believe you," he said softly, stroking her hair, "and I'm right here, not going anywhere." They sat together quietly, the morning sun streaming through the tall windows, illuminating dust motes dancing in the air. Jack felt Lily's breathing deepen and slow as she drifted into the peaceful sleep that had eluded her after her nightmare. He carefully laid her on the sofa, covering her with the soft throw blanket that Rebecca had crocheted during her final months of cancer treatment, the last gift from mother to daughter. Jack moved to his home office, leaving the door ajar to hear Lily if she woke. He might be missing the meeting, but there was still work he could do from home. He opened his laptop, intending to review the quarterly projections, but found himself staring at the family photo on his desk instead. It was taken just months before Rebecca's diagnosis. The three of them on a beach in Maui, squinting into the sun, laughing. Happiness captured in a silver frame. A life that seemed a universe away now. His phone buzzed with a text from Amanda. "Going out for a while, need some air, don't wait up." Jack frowned at the message. "Don't wait up?" It was barely 9 a.m. Before he could reply, his phone rang with an unknown number. "Mr. Reynolds?" An unfamiliar male voice. "This is Officer Martinez with the Highway Patrol." Jack's blood turned to ice in his veins. "Yes, this is Jack Reynolds. Sir, I'm calling about your company vehicle. There's been an accident on the Franklin Bridge." The room seemed to tilt around Jack. He gripped the edge of his desk to steady himself. "What kind of accident?" "Your Mercedes, sir. License plate RAW-NLD1. It appears the brake lines were compromised. The vehicle crashed into a semi-truck and caught fire." Jack couldn't speak, couldn't breathe. Lily's nightmare played in his mind with horrific clarity. "I'm very sorry to tell you this, sir," Officer Martinez continued into the silence. "But your driver, Thomas Wilson, didn't survive the impact." The phone nearly slipped from Jack's numb fingers. Thomas had been his driver for 5 years, a former Marine with 2 kids in college. A good man who took extra shifts to pay for his daughter's medical school tuition. And now he was dead, in the car that should have been carrying Jack to his meeting. "Mr. Reynolds, are you still there, sir?" "Yes," Jack managed. "Yes, I'm here. Was anyone else hurt?" "The truck driver has minor injuries, but he'll be fine. We're conducting a full investigation. The initial assessment suggests the brake lines may have been tampered with, but we won't know for certain until the forensic team completes their examination." Tampered with, the words echoed in Jack's mind as the officer continued speaking about investigation procedures and next steps. Not an accident. Someone had wanted that car to crash. Someone had wanted him dead. Jack thanked the officer, promised to come to the station later to provide any information that might help, and ended the call. Then he sat perfectly still in his office chair, his mind racing to catch up with the horrific reality that had just been confirmed. Lily's nightmare hadn't been a nightmare at all. It had been a premonition, a warning that had saved his life. But who would want him dead? A soft sound from the doorway pulled him from his thoughts. Lily stood there, the throw blanket wrapped around her shoulders like a cape, her eyes wide and solemn. "The car crashed, didn't it, Daddy?" she asked quietly. Jack opened his arms and she crossed the room to climb onto his lap. "Yes, sweetheart. The car crashed, but I'm safe because of you, because you warned me." Lily nodded, as if this confirmation was expected rather than shocking. "I knew it was real. It felt different from regular dreams. Brighter. Louder." She looked up at him with eyes that suddenly seemed much older than 6. "Sometimes I see things before they happen. Mama used to see things too." Jack stared at his daughter in amazement. Rebecca had never mentioned anything about premonitions or psychic abilities. But then again, his late wife had always had an uncanny intuition about people and situations. "Mommy could see things too?" he asked gently. Lily nodded. "She told me not to be scared if it happened to me. She said it's like having a superpower, but it's a secret one not everyone understands." Jack felt a chill run through him. How many other conversations had Rebecca had with Lily that he didn't know about? How much of his daughter's inner life had he been missing while he built his empire? The sound of the front door opening interrupted his thoughts. Amanda's voice called out, "Jack, where are you?" "In my office," he replied. Amanda appeared in the doorway, her face composed but eyes wary. She had changed from her robe into a tailored navy dress, her hair and makeup immaculate, as if she'd been prepared to go out all along. "Jack, I'm sorry about earlier," she began, her voice contrite. "I shouldn't have pushed so hard about the meeting. If staying home with Lily was important to you, then—" She stopped abruptly, noticing his expression. "What's wrong? What happened?" "There was an accident," Jack said, his voice carefully neutral. "My company car crashed on the Franklin Bridge this morning. Thomas didn't make it." He watched Amanda's face closely as he spoke. For a split second, something flashed in her eyes. Not shock, not horror at the tragedy. Fury. It was gone so quickly that Jack might have thought he imagined it, except that Lily stiffened in his arms, her small body suddenly alert and watchful. "Oh my God," Amanda gasped, her hand flying to her mouth in a perfect gesture of shock. That's terrible. Poor Thomas, how did it happen?" "The brake lines were tampered with," Jack said, still watching her carefully. The police are investigating it as a potential homicide. Homicide? Amanda's eyes widened appropriately, her voice rising with apparent concern. Who would want to hurt Thomas? They don't think Thomas was the target, Jack said quietly. I was supposed to be in that car. Amanda sank into one of the office chairs, her face pale. You think someone was trying to kill you? But who would do such a thing? Why? Lily's small hand tightened around Jack's. I don't know, he said, but I intend to find out. Amanda rose, smoothing her dress with hands that trembled slightly. This is all too horrible. I should call my mother. She'll be devastated about Thomas, too. She always said what a gentleman he was. She left the office quickly, her heels clicking on the hardwood floor of the hallway. Jack looked down at Lily, who was watching the doorway where Amanda had disappeared, her expression unnaturally serious for a child her age. Lily, Jack said gently, is there something else you want to tell me? About your dream or about Amanda? Lily hesitated, conflict clear in her young face. Finally, she whispered, the lady with red hair doesn't like me, Daddy. She pretends when you're looking, but when you go away, her face gets cold and scary. Jack felt a chill run through him. Amanda has been mean to you? Lily nodded slowly. She says if I tell you, no one will believe me because I'm just a kid and kids make things up. She says you'll send me away to a special school for kids who tell lies. Anger flared in Jack's chest, hot and sudden. Lily, listen to me. I will never, ever send you away. Do you understand? No matter what. Lily's eyes searched his, seeking reassurance. Promise? Cross your heart, promise? Cross my heart, Jack said firmly, making the childish gesture over his chest. You and me, we're a team. Forever. Lily relaxed slightly, but her expression remained troubled. There's something else, Daddy, about Uncle William. What about him? The lady with red hair goes to see him when you're not home. I saw them from the playroom window when I was with Mrs. Garcia last week. They were in the garden talking, and they looked angry. Jack's mind raced. Amanda and William meeting secretly? That made no sense. William had been his best friend since college, his right-hand man in building Reynolds development from the ground up. And Amanda had only met William after she and Jack started dating. Hadn't she? Are you sure it was Uncle William? Jack asked carefully. Lily nodded emphatically. I'm sure, Daddy. He gave me a piggyback ride at your birthday party, remember? I know what he looks like. Jack remembered. William had been unusually attentive to Lily that night, something Jack had appreciated at the time. Now it took on a more ominous cast. Thank you for telling me, sweetheart, Jack said, hugging her close. You were very brave. Lily nestled against him, seemingly relieved to have shared her burden. Are you mad at me, Daddy? Mad at you? Why would I be mad at you? Because I said mean things about the lady with red hair. She's your new wife, and I'm supposed to be nice. Jack's heart ached at his daughter's innocent concern for adult feelings, even in the midst of her own fear. Lily, you haven't said anything mean. You told me the truth about how someone was treating you. That's never wrong. I'm proud of you for being brave enough to tell me. Lily's small smile was like sunshine breaking through clouds. For a moment, they sat in comfortable silence, the bond between father and daughter strengthening in the aftermath of shared danger and truth. Then Jack's phone buzzed with a text message from William. Meeting complete disaster. Investors walked. 200 barrel gone. Hope you're happy. We need to talk now. Jack set the phone down without replying. The money didn't matter anymore. What mattered was that someone, possibly someone very close to him, had tried to kill him today. And only Lily's extraordinary warning had saved him. His daughter had given him a second chance at life. Now he needed to use it to uncover the truth, no matter how painful that truth might be. Daddy? Lily's voice pulled him from his thoughts. Yes, sweetheart. I'm hungry. Can we have mac and cheese for lunch? Jack smiled, momentarily grounded by the beautiful simplicity of a child's needs amid adult chaos. Mac and cheese sounds perfect. Let's go make some. He rose with Lily still in his arms, carrying her toward the kitchen. As they passed the living room, Jack noticed Amanda through the window, standing on the back patio, her phone pressed to her ear, gesturing emphatically as she spoke. Even from a distance, her expression was unmistakable. Rage. Jack held Lily closer and continued to the kitchen, his mind racing with questions and suspicions. His perfect life had just revealed itself to be an elaborate facade, and behind it lurked something dark and deadly. But one thing was crystal clear amidst the gathering storm. He would protect Lily at all costs. and together they would uncover the truth, no matter how dangerous that journey might be. Macaroni and cheese had never been a complex affair in Jack Reynolds' kitchen. Normally, he would have reached for the blue box that was a staple in households with young children. But today, nothing felt normal. Today, he needed the mindless precision of following a recipe from scratch, measuring cheese, butter, milk, whisking a roux, while his mind processed the seismic shift in his reality. Someone had tried to kill him. The brake lines in his company car had been deliberately cut. His driver Thomas was dead, and his 6-year-old daughter had somehow foreseen it all. As Jack stirred the cheese sauce, he watched Lily at the kitchen counter, her small legs dangling from the bar stool, carefully coloring inside the lines of her favorite princess coloring book. Her blonde curls caught the afternoon sunlight streaming through the windows. She looked so innocent, so normal. Yet there was something in her eyes now, a wisdom, a knowledge beyond her years that both fascinated and frightened him. "Daddy, the cheese is bubbling too much," Lily said without looking up from her coloring. Jack glanced down to see the sauce indeed boiling over. He quickly removed it from the heat, muttering a thanks to Lily. How had she known without even looking? Another glimpse of her unusual awareness? From the patio outside, Jack could still see Amanda pacing, her phone pressed to her ear, her free hand gesticulating wildly. Whoever she was speaking to was getting an earful. "Daddy, when are you going to tell the police that the lady with red hair did it?" Jack nearly dropped the wooden spoon. He turned to find Lily watching him, her eyes wide and solemn. "What makes you say that, sweetheart?" he asked carefully, keeping his voice neutral. Lily shrugged, returning to her coloring. "I just know. She was happy when she thought you would be in the car. Now she's angry because you weren't." A chill ran down Jack's spine, out of the mouths of babes. "Lily, did you see something else in your dreams?" "Something about Amanda." Lily's crayon paused mid-stroke. She seemed to be considering her answer carefully. "Not in a dream, but I can feel it, like how you can feel when a storm is coming before you see the clouds." She looked up at him. "She has storms inside her, Daddy." Before Jack could respond, the patio door slid open and Amanda stepped inside. Her face was composed into a mask of calm, but Jack could see the tension in the set of her shoulders, the tightness around her eyes. "That was my mother," she said smoothly. "She's devastated about Thomas. Wants us to send flowers to the funeral." She glanced at the stove. "What are you making?" "Mac and cheese," Jack replied, studying her. "Lily's favorite." Amanda's smile didn't reach her eyes. "How domestic of you." She leaned against the counter, making a show of watching him cook. "The police called while I was outside. They want you to come down to the station this afternoon to answer some questions about Thomas." Jack nodded slowly. "I expected they would. They're treating it as a homicide investigation." "Seems extreme for a car accident, doesn't it?" Amanda's tone was carefully casual. "Brake failures happen all the time." "Not with brake lines that have been cut," Jack said flatly. A flicker of something, alarm, calculation, crossed Amanda's face before it settled back into concerned neutrality. "Cut? Are they sure about that?" "That's what the preliminary investigation suggests." Amanda shook her head, her auburn hair catching the light. "Who would do such a thing? And why target Thomas? He was such a gentle soul." "I told you earlier," Jack said, stirring the pasta into the cheese sauce with methodical precision. "They don't think Thomas was the target. I was supposed to be in that car." Amanda's hand flew to her throat in a gesture of shock that seemed practiced. That's horrifying, Jack. Who would want to hurt you? You're respected, successful. You don't have enemies." Everyone has enemies, Jack thought, especially successful men. The question was, were his enemies outside his home or standing in his kitchen right now? "The police will figure it out," he said, spooning the finished mac and cheese onto plates. "I'm sure they will." Amanda pushed herself away from the counter. "I need to make some calls. Business doesn't stop for personal tragedies, unfortunately. Will you be okay taking Lily to the police station with you? I have too much to catch up on." "We'll manage," Jack said, watching as she kissed the top of Lily's head, a gesture his daughter subtly leaned away from, and disappeared upstairs. As soon as Amanda was gone, Jack set Lily's lunch in front of her and sat beside her at the counter. "Lily, I need you to be completely honest with me, okay? This is very important." Lily nodded, her expression serious. "Has Amanda ever hurt you in any way?" Lily considered this, her small brow furrowing in thought. "Not like hitting, but she pinches me sometimes when you're not looking, and she tells me scary things." "What kind of scary things?" "She says if you ever had to choose between her and me, you would pick her because that's what grown-ups do." And she says one day I'll have to go to boarding school far away because I'm just in the way here. Rage bubbled up inside Jack's chest, hot and violent. He forced it down, keeping his expression calm for Lily's sake. That's not true, sweetheart. Not a single word of it. If I ever had to choose, which I won't, I would always choose you. Always. And you're never going to boarding school unless you want to go. Lily seemed to consider this, then nodded, apparently satisfied. I know, Mommy told me so. Mommy told you? Jack's voice caught. When? In my dreams sometimes. Lily took a bite of her mac and cheese, seemingly unconcerned by the bomb she had just dropped. She says you love me more than anything, even if you're busy a lot. Jack felt his throat constrict with emotion. The idea that Rebecca somehow communicated with Lily through dreams seemed both impossible and yet, after today's events, strangely plausible. And the message was undeniably true. He did love Lily more than anything, though he'd been doing a poor job showing it lately. Your mommy is right, he said simply. Lily nodded as if this was obvious. I know, Daddy. Can I have apple juice with lunch? The shift to mundane concerns was so abrupt that Jack almost laughed despite the gravity of their situation. Coming right up, Princess. As he poured Lily's juice, his phone buzzed with another text from William. Need to talk to you now. Critical situation with Everest. Answer your damn phone. Jack ignored it. William's urgent business crisis paled in comparison to the actual life-and-death situation unfolding in Jack's own home. He was beginning to suspect his CFO was involved in something far darker than failed business negotiations. After lunch, Jack helped Lily get ready for their trip to the police station. As she put on her shoes, his phone rang again. William's fifth call of the day. This time, Jack answered. Where the hell have you been? William's voice was tight with barely controlled fury. I've been calling you all morning. I've been dealing with the fact that someone tried to kill me today, Will. Jack kept his voice low, glancing up the stairs to make sure Amanda wasn't within earshot. Thomas is dead because he was driving my car. There was a pause on the other end of the line. When William spoke again, his tone had shifted to concerned shock. Jesus Christ, Jack, what are you talking about? My company car crashed this morning. The brake lines were tampered with. The police are treating it as a homicide. My God, are they sure it wasn't just mechanical failure? They're sure, Jack said flatly. Someone wanted me dead, Will. Another pause. Jack, I don't know what to say. This is terrible, but who would... That's what I intend to find out, Jack cut in. Now, what's so urgent about the Everest situation? William seemed flustered by the abrupt change of subject. What? Oh, right. The investors walked, Jack. Hughes and Donovan were furious that you didn't show up. Said it demonstrated a lack of seriousness on our part. And? Jack, we just lost a $200 million investment opportunity. Our stock is going to take a hit when this news breaks. The board is already calling for an emergency meeting. Schedule it for tomorrow, Jack said. I have more pressing matters today. More pressing than the company you built from nothing potentially losing 20% of its value? William's voice rose incredulously. Jack, I know you're shaken by what happened to Thomas, but you can't just abandon ship when someone is trying to kill me? Jack finished the sentence coldly. I think that takes precedence over stock fluctuations. Don't you? Of course, but I'll deal with the board tomorrow, Will. Today I'm taking Lily to the police station to answer questions about the accident, and then I'm going to start figuring out who wants me dead. Another long pause. When William spoke again, his voice was subdued. Of course, you're right. I'm sorry, Jack. This is just... It's a lot to process. Do you want me to come with you to the police station? No, Jack said quickly, perhaps too quickly. Just handle things at the office. Keep the board calm. We'll talk tomorrow. He ended the call before William could respond, an uneasiness settling in his stomach. Had his friend's concerns sounded genuine? Or was it just another performance, like Amanda's theatrical shock at hearing about the accident? Jack didn't know who to trust anymore, except the small girl now standing in front of him, Velcro sneakers securely fastened, her stuffed bunny clutched in one arm. Ready to go, Daddy, Lily announced. I brought Mr. Flopsy in case we need to be brave. Jack's heart swelled. How had this child, this extraordinary, perceptive, brave little person, come from him? She was the best of Rebecca, certainly, but he liked to think there was some of him in her too. The determination, perhaps. The loyalty. Good thinking, sweetheart, he said, taking her hand. Mr. Flopsy is excellent at being brave. As they walked to the front door, Amanda appeared at the top of the stairs. Leaving already? The police are expecting us, Jack replied, not breaking stride. Amanda descended halfway down the staircase. I was thinking, Jack, perhaps it would be better if Lily stayed home with me. Police stations can be so frightening for children. Jack felt Lily's hand tighten around his, saw the flicker of fear in her eyes at the suggestion. That won't be necessary, he said coolly. Lily wants to stay with me today. But Jack, we won't be long, he cut her off, opening the front door. Don't wait up. The drive to the police station was quiet. Jack had chosen to take his personal car, a Range Rover he rarely drove but kept in the garage for weekend outings. It felt safer somehow, less likely to have been tampered with than his regular company vehicle. Lily sat in her booster seat in the back, Mr. Flopsy positioned to look out the window. Jack watched her in the rearview mirror, questions burning in his mind. How much did she actually understand about what was happening? How much should he tell her? She was only 6, yet she seemed to grasp the gravity of their situation with an awareness that unnerved him. Daddy? Her small voice broke the silence. Yes, sweetheart? Are you going to tell the police about the lady with red hair? Jack chose his words carefully. I'm going to tell them everything relevant to their investigation, Lily, but I don't want you to worry about this. It's grown-up business. But it's about me too, she said with a child's straightforward logic. I saw it happen before it happened, and now the lady with red hair is mad at me because I told you. Jack's knuckles whitened on the steering wheel. Has Amanda said something to you about your dream? Lily nodded, her reflection solemn in the mirror. When you were getting your wallet upstairs, she came into the kitchen. She said I should stop making up stories or bad things would happen. Jack fought to keep his expression neutral, despite the rage coursing through him. What kind of bad things did she say would happen? She didn't say exactly, but her eyes got scary. Lily hugged Mr. Flopsy closer. I don't think she's a nice person, Daddy. I'm beginning to think you're right, Jack murmured, more to himself than to Lily. The remainder of the drive passed in silence, Jack's mind racing through scenarios, each more disturbing than the last. If Amanda had indeed been involved in the attempt on his life, what was her endgame? Money, certainly. His estate was worth nearly $1 billion. But was that all? And how did William fit into the picture? Lily had seen them together, arguing in the garden. Were they co-conspirators, lovers, both? By the time they arrived at the central police station, Jack had formulated a plan. He needed more information before he could make accusations. He needed proof. The detective assigned to the case, Elena Ramirez, met them in the lobby. In her early 40s with sharp eyes and a no-nonsense demeanor, she had the look of someone who'd seen it all and wasn't easily surprised. Mr. Reynolds, she greeted him with a firm handshake. Thank you for coming in, and this must be Lily. She crouched down to the little girl's eye level. Hello there. Lily regarded Detective Ramirez solemnly, then held out Mr. Flopsy. This is Mr. Flopsy. He helps me be brave. Ramirez nodded with perfect seriousness. Very pleased to meet you both. We have a special room where kids can wait with lots of toys and books while I talk to your dad. How does that sound? Lily's hand tightened around Jack's. I want to stay with Daddy. Jack squeezed her hand reassuringly. It's okay, sweetheart. I won't be far away. Actually, Ramirez said, glancing between them, if you're comfortable with it, Mr. Reynolds, Lily could stay with us. We have a child psychologist on staff who might want to talk with her later anyway. About what? Jack asked, immediately protective. Just routine, Ramirez assured him. In cases like this, we like to get a sense of the family dynamics. Sometimes children notice things adults miss. Jack hesitated, then looked down at Lily. Would that be okay with you, Princess? You can stay with me while I talk to Detective Ramirez. Lily nodded emphatically. I want to help catch the bad people who hurt Thomas. Something flickered across Ramirez's face. Surprise, perhaps, at the child's perceptiveness. But she quickly masked it. Right this way, then. They followed her to an interview room that had clearly been modified to be less intimidating. There were comfortable chairs instead of the stark metal ones Jack had expected, and a small table in the corner with crayons and coloring books. Please, make yourselves comfortable, Ramirez said, closing the door behind them. Can I get either of you anything? Water? Coffee for you, Mr. Reynolds? Juice for the little one? We're fine, thank you, Jack said, helping Lily into one of the chairs before taking a seat himself. Ramirez nodded, settling across from them. She placed a recorder on the table between them. Do you mind if I record our conversation? Standard procedure. Jack nodded his assent, and she activated the device. For the record, this is Detective Elena Ramirez interviewing Jack Reynolds regarding case number 47829. The death of Thomas Wilson. Also present is Mr. Reynolds' daughter, Lily Reynolds. She turned to Jack. Mitch Reynolds, I understand you were the intended passenger in the vehicle Mr. Wilson was driving this morning. Can you tell me why you weren't in the car as scheduled? Jack glanced at Lily, then back to Ramirez. My daughter had a premonition, I suppose you could call it. She woke up from a nightmare about me being in a car accident. She was so distressed that I decided to stay home. If Ramirez found this explanation unusual, she didn't show it. And what time was this? Around 5 this morning. Lily woke up screaming. I saw it, Lily interjected, her voice small but clear. I saw the black car with Daddy's special license plate crash on the big bridge. I saw the fire and people screaming. Ramirez's eyebrows rose fractionally. You saw this in your dream, Lily? Lily nodded solemnly. It wasn't a regular dream. It was bright and loud and scary. I knew it was real. And you told your father about it? I begged him not to go to work, Lily said, chin quivering at the memory. I knew something bad would happen if he did. Ramirez made a note, then looked back at Jack. And based solely on your daughter's dream, you decided to miss an important business meeting? Put that way, it sounded absurd. Jack shifted in his seat. It sounds irrational, I know, but Lily was genuinely terrified, more so than I've ever seen her. And he hesitated, then pushed forward. And she knew details she couldn't possibly have known. The license plate on my company car, the route it would take. I've never discussed those things with her. Ramirez's pen paused over her notepad. That is unusual. She studied Lily for a moment, then returned her attention to Jack. Mr. Reynolds, do you have any idea who might want to harm you? Jack took a deep breath. This was the moment of decision. How much should he reveal? His suspicions about Amanda and William were just that, suspicions. He had no proof, nothing concrete to offer the detective. I've made enemies in business, he said carefully. That's inevitable when you build a company from nothing into a billion-dollar enterprise. There are always people who feel cheated, overlooked, underpaid. Anyone specific come to mind? Jack shook his head. No one who would resort to murder. Ramirez nodded, making another note. What about your personal life, Mr. Reynolds? Any tensions at home? Jack felt Lily's eyes on him, watching, waiting to see if he would tell the truth. My wife and I have been married less than a year, he said, choosing his words with care. It's been an adjustment for all of us. Adjustments can be difficult, Ramirez agreed, her tone neutral. How would you characterize your relationship with your wife at present? Before Jack could answer, Lily spoke up again. The lady with red hair doesn't like me. She's mean to me when Daddy isn't looking. Ramirez's gaze sharpened. The lady with red hair, you mean your stepmother, Lily? Lily nodded. She pinches me sometimes, and she tells me scary things about going away to school and never seeing Daddy again. Jack saw Ramirez's expression shift subtly. The detective was now fully alert, her casual demeanor falling away to reveal the predator beneath. Mr. Reynolds, were you aware of this? Not until today, Jack admitted, guilt washing over him. Lily told me after the accident. I see. Ramirez made another note, her pen moving rapidly. And how did you react to this information? I was disturbed, obviously, angry, but I haven't confronted my wife yet. I wanted more information first. A prudent approach, Ramirez agreed. She turned back to Lily. Sweetheart, has your stepmother ever hurt you in any other way or threatened to hurt you? Lily considered this, her small face screwed up in concentration. Not hurt me like hitting, but she says mean things when Daddy can't hear. She says I'm just in the way and that grown-ups don't really want kids around. They just pretend because they have to. Jack felt each word like a physical blow. How had he missed this? How had he not seen what was happening in his own home? And Lily, Ramirez continued gently, have you seen your stepmother do anything else that seemed strange to you? Anything that scared you or made you uncomfortable? Lily nodded, her eyes wide. She talks on the phone a lot when Daddy's not home. She gets angry and says things like, stick to the plan, and he doesn't suspect anything. She glanced at Jack apologetically. I wasn't supposed to be listening, but I could hear her from the playroom. Ramirez's pen paused over her notepad. When was this, Lily? Do you remember? Last week, Lily said confidently. And I saw her in the garden with Uncle William when Daddy was on his business trip. They were arguing. Jack watched Ramirez's expression shift again, becoming more guarded, more professional. She was now treating this as a serious lead, not just the overactive imagination of a child. Mr. Reynolds, she said, turning back to him, who is Uncle William? William Parker, my CFO and oldest friend. We've known each other since college, been business partners for 25 years. And to your knowledge, what is his relationship with your wife? Jack chose his words carefully. They met through me shortly after Amanda and I started dating. As far as I know, they have a cordial, professional relationship. Nothing more. But Lily says she saw them arguing in your garden? Yes, which was news to me today. Ramirez made another note, then set her pen down and regarded Jack steadily. Mr. Reynolds, based on what you and your daughter have told me, I think we need to look more closely at your wife's activities and communications. Would you be willing to grant us access to your home security system, phone records, financial accounts? Of course, Jack said without hesitation, whatever you need. Good. Ramirez picked up her pen again. Now, I'd like to circle back to this morning. After your daughter warned you about the accident, what happened next? For the next hour, Jack recounted the events of the morning in detail. Amanda's insistence that he go to the meeting despite Lily's fears, William's increasingly urgent calls, his decision to stay home, and finally the devastating news about Thomas. Throughout the interview, Lily sat quietly, occasionally nodding or adding a detail Jack had forgotten. Her composure was remarkable for a child her age, though Jack noticed she clutched Mr. Flopsy tighter whenever Amanda's name was mentioned. Finally, Ramirez clicked off the recorder. Thank you both for your time. You've been very helpful. She handed Jack her card. I'm going to assign an officer to monitor your house, discreetly, of course. I'd also like to have our tech team set up some additional surveillance, with your permission. Whatever you think is necessary, Jack agreed. But won't that alert Amanda if she is involved? We'll be subtle, Ramirez assured him. As far as she'll know, it's just standard security measures following a threat to your life. She glanced at Lily, then back to Jack. In the meantime, I strongly suggest you and Lily stay somewhere else tonight. A hotel, perhaps, or with a trusted friend or family member. Jack nodded, already thinking through the logistics. He couldn't go to his mother's. That would be the first place Amanda would look. And most of his friends were also business associates, people who might inadvertently alert William to their whereabouts. We'll figure something out, he said, rising from his chair. Thank you, Detective. Ramirez stood as well, extending her hand. One more thing, Mr. Reynolds. I wouldn't confront your wife with any of this yet. If she is involved in what happened to Thomas, she's dangerous. And desperate people make desperate choices. Jack felt a chill run down his spine at the detective's words. The idea that Amanda, the woman he had welcomed into his home, into his life, into his daughter's life, could be capable of murder was still difficult to process. Yet the evidence was mounting, and his instincts were screaming that Ramirez was right. I understand, he said, taking Lily's hand. We'll be careful. As they left the police station, the late afternoon sun was beginning its descent, casting long shadows across the parking lot. Jack helped Lily into her booster seat, his mind racing through their options. Where could they go that was safe? Who could they trust? Daddy? Lily's voice pulled him from his thoughts as he slid into the driver's seat. Can we go to Miss Sarah's house? Jack frowned, starting the engine. Miss Sarah, your art teacher? Lily nodded earnestly. She's nice, and she knew Mommy. They were friends. Jack's hands stilled on the steering wheel. Miss Sarah knew your mother? How do you know that? She has a picture of them on her desk from college. She showed me one day after art class. Jack racked his brain trying to place the name. Sarah? Had Rebecca ever mentioned a Sarah from college? He couldn't recall. But then again, there was so much about his late wife's life before him that they'd never discussed in depth. Their marriage had been so consumed with building his company, then with Rebecca's illness, that many of the ordinary exchanges of personal history had been overlooked. Do you know Miss Sarah's last name, sweetheart? Miss Jenkins, Lily supplied promptly. She lives in the blue house with the big tree in front. We went there once for an art club picnic. Jack vaguely remembered signing a permission slip for that event, though he hadn't attended himself. Amanda had taken Lily, claiming it would be a good bonding opportunity. Had that been genuine, or had she just wanted to scout the location? To meet this woman who had known Rebecca. How about we get a hotel room tonight, Jack suggested instead. It would be like a little vacation. We could order room service, watch movies. But Lily was shaking her head firmly. No, Daddy, we need to go to Miss Sarah's. She can help us. There was such conviction in her voice that Jack found himself hesitating. After the events of today, he was inclined to trust Lily's instincts more than his own. If she felt strongly that this art teacher could help them, perhaps she was right. Do you know where Miss Sarah lives exactly, the address? Lily beamed, clearly pleased that he was taking her suggestions seriously. I don't know the numbers, but I can show you. It's near my school. All right, Jack decided. We'll drive by your school and see if you can spot it. But if not, we go with my hotel plan, okay? Deal, Lily agreed, settling back in her seat with Mr. Flopsy. As they drove toward Lily's private school in the upscale neighborhood of Riverside Heights, Jack's phone buzzed repeatedly. Amanda had called 6 times in the past hour. He let each call go to voicemail, unwilling to speak to her until he had a better grasp of what they were dealing with. Lily directed him with surprising confidence, pointing out landmarks as they approached her school. Turn right at the big tree, now left at the yellow house. It's down this street, Daddy, the blue one with the big oak tree, see? And there it was, a charming craftsman-style house painted a deep blue with white trim, its front yard dominated by a massive oak tree. It looked warm, inviting, completely ordinary. Not the kind of place one would expect to find answers to a murder plot. Jack parked across the street, suddenly uncertain. What was he doing? Bringing his daughter to a near stranger's house based on a child's intuition? It seemed reckless, potentially dangerous. Lily, I don't think... She's home, Lily interrupted, pointing to a woman kneeling in the front garden, tending to a bed of late summer flowers. That's Miss Sarah. Jack studied the woman through the windshield. She appeared to be in her early 40s, with dark hair pulled back in a practical ponytail, wearing jeans and a faded t-shirt. There was something familiar about her, though he couldn't place it. Perhaps he had met her at one of Lily's school functions? Lily, we can't just show up at your teacher's house unannounced, Jack protested weakly. Why not? Lily asked with a child's straightforward logic. She likes me, and she knew Mommy. She'll help us. Before Jack could form a response, Lily had unbuckled her seatbelt and opened the car door. With the fearlessness of childhood, she was crossing the street, waving enthusiastically. Miss Sarah! Miss Sarah! The woman looked up, shading her eyes against the late afternoon sun. Recognition dawned on her face, followed by surprise, then a warm smile. She stood, brushing soil from her knees, and waved back. Jack had no choice but to follow, jogging to catch up with Lily as she reached the garden gate. Lily! What a lovely surprise, Sarah Jenkins said, her voice warm with genuine affection. Her gaze shifted to Jack, and something flickered in her eyes. Recognition? Wariness? And you must be Mr. Reynolds. We met briefly at the Winter Showcase last year. That explained why she seemed familiar. Jack extended his hand. Jack, please. I apologize for the unexpected visit. Lily was quite insistent. Sarah's handshake was firm, her smile cautious, but welcoming. It's no trouble at all. Lily is one of my favorite students. She crouched down to the little girl's level. What brings you here, sweetheart? Lily launched into explanation without preamble. Daddy's car crashed today, but he wasn't in it because I had a dream and warned him, and now the police think someone tried to kill him, and we need a safe place to stay because the lady with red hair might be dangerous, and I told Daddy you knew my mommy and could help us. Sarah's smile froze, her eyes widening as she absorbed Lily's rush of words. She looked up at Jack, clearly seeking confirmation or denial of this extraordinary tale. It's a long story, Jack said awkwardly, and I realize this is extremely inappropriate showing up like this. We can go. No, Sarah said firmly, rising to her feet. She looked around the quiet street, suddenly alert. No, you should come inside, both of you. She ushered them through the garden gate and up the path to her front door. Lily's right. I did know Rebecca. We were roommates in college. As Sarah unlocked her door, Jack felt a strange mixture of relief and apprehension. They were committed now, placing their trust in this woman based on nothing more than Lily's instincts and a long-ago connection to Rebecca. It was reckless, possibly dangerous. And yet, as they stepped into the warm, book-lined living room of Sarah Jenkins' home, Jack felt something he hadn't experienced since this morning's frantic awakening. A small measure of safety. Sarah closed the door behind them, turning the deadbolt with a decisive click. Now, she said, facing them with determined calm, why don't you tell me exactly what's happened and how I can help? Jack looked down at Lily, who had already made herself at home on Sarah's comfortable sofa. Mr. Flopsy positioned beside her. His daughter met his gaze with absolute confidence, as if to say, see, I told you this was where we needed to be. And perhaps, Jack thought, she was right. Again. As the evening shadows lengthened outside Sarah Jenkins' blue house, Jack Reynolds began to tell their story. The story of a nightmare that wasn't just a dream, of betrayal hiding behind a beautiful smile, and of a 6-year-old girl whose extraordinary gift had saved her father's life. What he didn't yet know was that Sarah Jenkins had secrets of her own, secrets that would shed light on the darkness closing in around them, secrets that Rebecca had taken to her grave, secrets that might be the key to their survival or their destruction. Sarah Jenkins' living room was bathed in the golden glow of sunset as Jack finished recounting the day's events. The space reflected its owner, comfortable yet elegant, with overflowing bookshelves and artwork that spoke of a life lived in pursuit of beauty and knowledge. The scent of brewing tea wafted from the kitchen where Sarah had retreated moments earlier, giving Jack a moment to collect his thoughts. Lily had fallen asleep on the sofa halfway through his explanation, emotional exhaustion finally claiming her. Jack gently tucked a throw blanket around her small form, brushing a blonde curl from her forehead. Even in sleep, she clutched Mr. Flopsy to her chest, her face peaceful for the first time since her terrified awakening that morning. Sarah returned with 2 steaming mugs, handing one to Jack before settling into an armchair across from him. Her dark eyes studied him with an intensity that made him wonder exactly how much she knew. About him, about Rebecca, about everything. "So," she said after taking a sip of her tea, "you believe your wife and your CFO are conspiring to kill you." Put so bluntly, it sounded absurd. Jack ran a hand over his face, feeling the weight of the day's revelations. "When you say it like that, it sounds paranoid." "Not paranoid, just extraordinary." Sarah set her mug down, her expression somber. "But then the evidence is rather compelling, especially Lily's premonition." Jack glanced at his sleeping daughter. "Did you know she had this ability, this gift?" Sarah hesitated, choosing her words carefully. "Rebecca mentioned it toward the end. She said there were signs, even when Lily was very young, a heightened awareness, dreams that seemed too specific to be coincidence." "Why didn't she tell me?" Jack couldn't keep the hurt from his voice. "She tried," Sarah said gently. "But you were preoccupied, building your empire." The words stung because they were true. During Rebecca's final months, Jack had still been working 14-hour days, convincing himself it was for his family's security. In reality, it had been easier to focus on spreadsheets and investor meetings than to face his wife's inexorable decline, the cruel inevitability of her loss. "I wasn't there for her," he admitted, the guilt he'd suppressed for 3 years rising like bile in his throat. "Not the way I should have been." Sarah's expression softened. "Rebecca understood, Jack. She never blamed you." "I blame me," he said quietly. "And now I've put Lily in danger by marrying a woman I barely knew." "Self-recrimination won't help Lily now," Sarah said firmly. "What matters is what you do next." She leaned forward, her gaze direct and unflinching. "Jack, I need to show you something. Something Rebecca left with me before she died." Jack's pulse quickened. "What is it?" "Wait here." Sarah disappeared into another room, returning moments later with a small wooden box. It was intricately carved with a pattern Jack recognized immediately, the same design that decorated Rebecca's grandmother's jewelry box, a family heirloom passed down through generations. "Rebecca gave me this a week before she died," Sarah explained, setting the box on the coffee table between them. "She made me promise not to open it unless something happened to you or Lily, something unusual." "And you've never looked inside?" Sarah shook her head. "I keep my promises." Jack stared at the box, his hand hovering over the lid. What final message had Rebecca left them? What secrets had she taken to her grave, only to resurface now, when their lives hung in the balance? With a deep breath, he lifted the lid. Inside lay a small leather journal, a USB drive, and an envelope with his name written in Rebecca's elegant handwriting. Jack's throat tightened at the sight of her script. So familiar and yet now so painfully absent from his life. "I'll give you some privacy," Sarah murmured, rising from her chair. "There's a guest room upstairs where you and Lily can spend the night. I'll go prepare it." Jack nodded absently, his focus entirely on Rebecca's final gift. As Sarah's footsteps faded up the stairs, he picked up the envelope with trembling fingers. The paper was high quality, the kind Rebecca had always preferred for her correspondence. It felt impossibly fragile in his hands, as if it might disintegrate at any moment, taking her last words with it. He broke the seal carefully and withdrew a single sheet of paper. Rebecca's handwriting flowed across the page in blue ink, as vivid as if she'd written it yesterday instead of 3 years ago. "My dearest Jack, If you're reading this, it means our daughter's gift has manifested in a way that has brought danger to your door. I'm sorry I didn't tell you everything while I could. There never seemed to be the right moment, and then time ran out too quickly. The women in my family have always had the knowing, that's what my grandmother called it, glimpses of what's to come, especially when danger threatens those we love. I had it, though I kept it hidden from you. It was how I knew to pull you from that investor meeting minutes before the ceiling collapsed. How I knew to make you change your flight on that business trip to London. Not coincidences, Jack. Never coincidences. I've seen that Lily has it too, stronger than I ever did. She will need guidance. Sarah can help. She knows about our family, about the knowing. Trust her. There's something else you need to know. Something about William. The journal will explain everything, and the USB drive contains proof. I didn't tell you while I was away because I feared what it would do to your friendship, to the company you built together. But if you're reading this, the time for secrets has passed. Be careful, my love. William isn't who you think he is. He never was. I wish I could be there to help you through this. Know that I loved you with all my heart, even when we were apart in all the ways that mattered. Protect our daughter. She is the best of both of us. Forever yours, Rebecca. Jack read the letter 3 times, each word sinking deeper into his consciousness. The knowing. Rebecca had possessed the same gift as Lily, the ability to see danger before it struck. How had he not realized? How many lucky coincidences had actually been Rebecca quietly guiding him away from harm? And William, what had Rebecca known about his oldest friend that she'd taken to her grave? With a growing sense of dread, Jack picked up the journal. It was bound in soft brown leather, the pages filled with Rebecca's handwriting. He flipped to the first entry, dated 6 months before her diagnosis. March 15. I saw William today, though he didn't see me. He was meeting with a woman at the Grand, tall, auburn hair, expensive clothes. They seemed intimate. I wouldn't think anything of it. After all, William's personal life is his own business, except for what I overheard. They were discussing Jack, discussing the company. The woman asked about the plan and whether Jack suspected anything. I lingered, pretending to read a magazine, and heard William say something that chilled me. Another year, maybe 2, and we'll have everything in place. Jack trusts me completely. He always has. Something is wrong. I need to dig deeper. Jack's blood ran cold. 6 months before Rebecca's diagnosis, William had been plotting something with a woman who sounded remarkably like Amanda. But that was impossible. Jack hadn't met Amanda until 2 years after Rebecca's death, at a charity gala where they'd been seated at the same table. Hadn't they? He flipped through more entries, reading Rebecca's meticulous documentation of William's suspicious activities. Strange meetings, unexplained wire transfers from company accounts, discrepancies in financial reports that William had glossed over when questioned. And then, 3 months before her diagnosis, the bombshell. June 22nd. I hired a private investigator to look into William's background. What I found is devastating. William Parker isn't who he claims to be. His real name is William Pritchard. He changed it after graduating Mall, the same college where he met Jack. But they weren't random roommates, as William has always claimed. William engineered their meeting. His father, Edward Pritchard, was the original investor in Reynolds Aerospace, Jack's father's company. When the company failed and Edward lost everything, he committed suicide. William blames the Reynolds family for his father's death. He spent the last 25 years working his way into Jack's life, becoming his trusted friend, his business partner, positioning himself to destroy everything Jack has built. I don't know how to tell Jack. He loves William like a brother. This will break him. And now I'm sick. Really sick. The doctors are running tests, but I know what they'll find. I've seen it in my dreams. I don't have much time left. Jack lowered the journal, his mind reeling. William had entered his life with the express purpose of destroying him, had spent 2 decades pretending to be his friend while secretly plotting his downfall. It seemed impossible, and yet it explains so much. The subtle financial discrepancies Jack had occasionally questioned, but William had always explained away. The strange resistance to certain security protocols Jack had wanted to implement. The increasing pressure to take risks that could leave the company vulnerable if they failed. Jack reached for the USB drive, needing to see the proof Rebecca had collected. He patted his pockets, cursing softly when he realized his laptop was back at the house. He'd have to wait until morning to view the files. Sarah returned, her footsteps soft on the hardwood floor. "The room is ready whenever you need it," she said, then paused, taking in Jack's expression. "You read it." Jack nodded, unable to find words to describe the emotions churning inside him. Betrayal, anger, grief, they blended together into a poisonous cocktail that threatened to overwhelm him. "William isn't who I thought he was," he finally managed. "None of this is what I thought it was." Sarah sat beside him, her presence steadying. "Rebecca wanted to tell you, but then the cancer came and everything happened so fast. She was trying to protect you, in her way. By keeping me in the dark?" Jack couldn't keep the bitterness from his voice. "By giving you time with her that wasn't overshadowed by this ugliness," Sarah said gently. "She knew how much William meant to you. She didn't want her last months to be filled with that pain." Jack closed his eyes, processing. Rebecca had made her choice, prioritizing peace in her final days over a confrontation that would have torn their world apart. Could he blame her? Would he have done any differently in her position? "There's something else you should know," Sarah said, her voice dropping lower. "About Amanda." Jack's eyes snapped open. "What about her?" "She came to see me about a month after you two started dating. She knew about my friendship with Rebecca. She had questions about Lily." "What kind of questions?" "About whether Lily had shown any unusual abilities. Whether she ever knew things she shouldn't know or had dreams that came true." Sarah's expression was grave. "At the time, I thought she was just trying to understand her new stepdaughter. Now I wonder if she was assessing a threat." A cold weight settled in Jack's stomach. "You think she knew about the knowing? About what Lily can do?" "I think William knew," Sarah said carefully, "and I think Amanda is connected to William in ways you're only beginning to understand." Before Jack could respond, his phone buzzed. Amanda's name flashed on the screen, her 7th call in the past hour. This time there was a text message accompanying it. "Jack, where are you and Lily? I'm worried sick. The police just left. They said you reported a threat against your life. Please come home so we can talk about this. I love you." Jack stared at the screen, a bitter taste in his mouth. The performance was perfect. Concerned wife, desperate to ensure her family's safety. If he hadn't seen the flash of fury in her eyes when he told her about the accident, hadn't heard from Lily about the pinches and threats when he wasn't around, hadn't read Rebecca's journal, he might have believed it. Another text arrived. "If I don't hear from you soon, I'm calling the police to report you and Lily missing. Please, Jack, just let me know you're both safe." "She's trying to flush us out," Jack muttered. Sarah peered at the screen. "You should respond, just enough to keep her from actually filing a missing persons report, which would complicate things." Jack nodded, typing quickly. "We're safe. Staying with a friend tonight. Need some space to process everything that's happened today." Amanda's response was immediate. "What friend? Why didn't you tell me? I should be with you both right now." Jack didn't reply, setting the phone aside. "She's not going to give up easily." "No," Sarah agreed, "but you have time now. Time to think, to plan." She nodded toward Lily, still sleeping peacefully on the sofa. And most importantly, time to keep her safe. As if sensing she was the topic of conversation, Lily stirred, her eyes fluttering open. She took in her surroundings with the rapid adjustment of childhood, recognition dawning in her eyes as she spotted Sarah. "Hi, Miss Sarah," she said sleepily, sitting up and hugging Mr. Flopsy to her chest. "Did Daddy tell you about the bad car and the lady with red hair?" "He did, sweetheart," Sarah said, her voice gentle. "And you were very brave today." Lily rubbed her eyes. "I was scared, but Mr. Flopsy helped me be brave." She looked around the room, her gaze landing on the wooden box still open on the coffee table. "That was Mommy's." Jack's eyebrows rose. "You recognize this, Lily?" She nodded solemnly. "Mommy showed it to me before she went to heaven. She said it was a special box for special things, and that one day I might need what was inside." Jack and Sarah exchanged looks of surprise. "Did Mommy tell you what was inside?" Jack asked carefully. "Letters," Lily said, "and a book where she wrote down her dreams, like I do." "You write down your dreams?" Sarah asked, leaning forward. Lily nodded again. "In my purple notebook, the one with unicorns on it, but I left it at home." Her face fell as she realized the implication. "Will the lady with red hair find it?" Jack felt a surge of protective instinct. "Where did you keep it, sweetheart?" "Under my mattress," Lily said. "But sometimes the lady with red hair looks through my room when I'm at school. She thinks I don't know, but I do." Jack made a mental note to retrieve the notebook as soon as possible. If it contained records of Lily's dreams and premonitions, it could be crucial evidence. both for the police investigation and for understanding the full extent of his daughter's abilities. "Don't worry about your notebook now," he told Lily. "We'll get it back soon. Right now, the most important thing is that you're safe here with Miss Sarah and me." Lily's stomach growled audibly and she giggled, the sound incongruously light in the heavy atmosphere of the room. "I'm hungry, Daddy." Sarah smiled, rising from her chair. "I bet you are. It's dinner time and I make a mean spaghetti and meatballs. Would you like to help me in the kitchen?" Lily's face lit up. "Can I? Daddy never lets me help with the meatballs." "That's because you eat more raw meat than makes it into the actual meatballs," Jack said, grateful for the moment of normalcy. "Miss Sarah won't mind," Lily said confidently, taking Sarah's outstretched hand. "She's a good cooker." "Chef," Sarah corrected with a laugh. "And I don't mind at all. Raw meatball tasters are an essential part of the cooking process." As they disappeared into the kitchen, Jack took the opportunity to review the remaining contents of Rebecca's box. Besides the journal and USB drive, there were several photographs he hadn't noticed initially. One showed Rebecca and Sarah in their early 20s, arms around each other's shoulders, standing in front of a campus building. Another was of William, much younger, his hair still dark, his face unlined, standing with a group of men Jack didn't recognize. On the back, Rebecca had written, "William Pritchard, far right, with Edward Pritchard's associates, knee 5. Jack studied the image carefully. This was William before Jack had met him, when he was still using his real name. There was something harder about his expression, something calculating in his eyes that Jack had never noticed, or perhaps had chosen not to see, in the man he'd considered his closest friend for 25 years. The final photograph made Jack's breath catch. It was Rebecca holding baby Lily, no more than a few months old. Rebecca was gazing down at their daughter with an expression of such pure love and wonder that Jack felt his eyes burn with unshed tears. On the back, in Rebecca's elegant script, "The knowing passes to the next generation. May it serve her better than it served me." Jack carefully returned the items to the box, his mind processing everything he'd learned. William Pritchard, son of a ruined investor, had methodically inserted himself into Jack's life to exact revenge for his father's downfall. But how did Amanda fit into this? Had William recruited her specifically to target Jack after Rebecca's death? Or was she pursuing her own agenda that somehow aligned with William's? And most disturbingly, had William played a role in Rebecca's death? The cancer had seemed so random, so cruelly arbitrary, but now, with the knowledge that William had been plotting against him for decades, Jack couldn't help but wonder if Rebecca's illness had been entirely natural. The thought sent a chill through him. Surely even William, motivated by decades of hatred, wouldn't go that far. Would he? The sound of Lily's laughter drifted from the kitchen, pulling Jack from his dark thoughts. Whatever the truth, he couldn't change the past. Rebecca was gone. What mattered now was protecting Lily and ensuring that those responsible for Thomas's death and the attempt on his own life faced justice. Jack joined Sarah and Lily in the kitchen, where his daughter was enthusiastically stirring a bowl of sauce, tomato splashes decorating her face and shirt. For the next hour, they immersed themselves in the simple ritual of preparing a meal together. Jack chopped vegetables while Sarah simmered sauce and boiled pasta, and Lily set the table with exaggerated care. It was a tableau of domestic normalcy that felt both foreign and achingly familiar to Jack. A glimpse of the family life he'd been too busy building his empire to fully appreciate when Rebecca was alive. Over dinner, they kept the conversation light, focusing on Lily's school projects and Sarah's art classes rather than murder plots and decades-old vendettas. Jack found himself studying Sarah, seeing glimpses of why she and Rebecca had been such close friends. They shared the same quick intelligence, the same quiet strength, the same innate understanding of how to make Lily feel safe and heard. After dinner, as Lily took a bath under Sarah's supervision, Jack used the opportunity to call Detective Ramirez and update her on what he'd learned from Rebecca's journal. The detective listened intently, asking occasional clarifying questions, but offering no immediate solutions. "This is all very helpful context, Mr. Reynolds," she said when he'd finished, "but it's still largely circumstantial. We need hard evidence linking either your wife or Mr. Parker to the tampering of your car." "The USB drive might have that evidence," Jack said. Rebecca was meticulous. If she said she had proof, she did. "Bring it to the station first thing tomorrow," Ramirez said. "In the meantime, stay where you are. My officers report that your wife has been making frequent calls from your home, and she received a visitor about an hour ago. Jack's pulse quickened. William? Yes, they appeared to be arguing rather intensely before moving inside where they couldn't be observed. So they were together now, plotting their next move. Jack thanked the detective and ended the call, a new sense of urgency gripping him. Whatever William and Amanda were planning, he needed to be ready. By the time Lily emerged from her bath, pink-cheeked and pajama-clad, Jack had mapped out his strategy for the following day. Take the USB drive to Ramirez, retrieve Lily's dream journal from the house, ideally when Amanda was out, and then meet with his personal attorney to change his will and remove Amanda's access to his accounts. Story time, Daddy? Lily asked hopefully, clutching Mr. Flopsy as she climbed onto the guest bed where they would be sleeping. Of course, Princess, Jack said, settling beside her own. What should we read? Miss Sarah gave me a special book, Lily said, producing a worn copy of The Secret Garden from under her pillow. It was Mommy's favorite when she was little. Jack took the book, running his fingers over the cover. Another piece of Rebecca he hadn't known about. How many more would he discover? How much of his wife had remained hidden from him, not by deception, but by his own inattention? He began to read, the familiar story of an orphan girl finding a hidden garden washing over them both. Lily snuggled against his side, her eyelids growing heavy with each page. By the third chapter, she was fast asleep, her breathing deep and even. Jack carefully set the book aside and turned out the lamp, but made no move to leave the bed. Instead, he lay beside his daughter in the darkness, listening to her breathe, feeling the weight of responsibility pressing down on him like a physical thing. He had failed Rebecca in so many ways. He would not fail Lily. Whatever it took, whatever price he had to pay, he would keep her safe, even if it meant destroying everything else he had built. Morning arrived with a pale sunlight filtering through unfamiliar curtains. Jack awakened instantly alert, years of early business calls having trained his body to shift from sleep to full wakefulness without the hazy transition most people experienced. Lily still slept beside him, her blonde curls splayed across the pillow, one small hand resting on Mr. Flopsy's worn ear. Jack eased himself from the bed, careful not to disturb her, and made his way downstairs where he found Sarah already awake, typing intently on a laptop at the kitchen table. Coffee's fresh, she said without looking up, gesturing toward a full pot on the counter. You're a lifesaver, Jack murmured, helping himself to a mug. What are you working on so intently? Sarah glanced up, her expression serious. I'm compiling everything I know about Rebecca's investigation into William. Dates, names, incidents she mentioned to me. She turned the laptop screen toward him. I thought it might help fill in some of the gaps in her journal. Jack scanned the document, impressed by Sarah's thoroughness. This is incredible. Thank you. Sarah nodded, returning to her typing. Rebecca was my best friend for 20 years. I couldn't save her, but I can help protect her daughter. The simple declaration, delivered without drama or expectation of gratitude, touched Jack deeply. He'd had business associates, golf partners, charity board co-members, but had he ever had a true friend like Sarah had been to Rebecca? Someone who would stand by him not for what he could offer, but simply out of loyalty and love? William had been the closest, and that relationship had been built on a foundation of lies and revenge. How did you and Rebecca stay so connected? Jack asked, settling across from Sarah at the table. You lived different lives in different cities, yet you remained close. Sarah's fingers stilled on the keyboard. We made the effort, she said simply. Weekly phone calls, no matter how busy we were. Visits whenever possible. A soft smile touched her lips. Rebecca would fly out to see me for a weekend when you were on business trips. She said it kept her sane. Jack winced at the implicit criticism. How many weekends had Rebecca spent alone while he built his empire, made his fortune, expanded his influence? How many times had she reached out to Sarah because Jack was unavailable, unreachable, absorbed in his work? I wasn't the husband she deserved, he admitted quietly. No, Sarah agreed, her honesty refreshing after years of people telling Jack whatever they thought he wanted to hear. But you were the husband she chose, and she never regretted that choice. She closed the laptop, giving him her full attention. Rebecca knew who you were when she married you, Jack. Ambitious, driven, focused. She didn't expect you to change. Maybe she should have, Jack said, staring into his coffee. Maybe I should have. Maybe, Sarah acknowledged, but dwelling on past mistakes won't help Lily now. What matters is what you do going forward. Before Jack could respond, his phone chimed with an incoming text. He expected Amanda, but instead saw Ramirez's name on the screen. Need to speak with you urgently. Call when you can. Jack excused himself and stepped onto Sarah's back porch to make the call. Ramirez answered on the first ring. Mr. Reynolds, she said without preamble, we have a situation. Your wife filed a missing persons report on you and Lily this morning. This morning, claiming you're emotionally unstable and potentially a danger to your daughter following the trauma of yesterday's accident. Jack's grip tightened on the phone. She what? She's claiming that the stress of nearly being killed has triggered a psychological break. She says you've been paranoid, accusing her of involvement in the accident, and that she fears for Lily's safety. Ramirez's voice was calm but urgent. She's petitioning for an emergency custody order, and she has William Parker backing her claims. This is absurd, Jack said, fury building in his chest. You spoke with Lily yesterday. Did she seem afraid of me? Did she seem like she was with a father having a psychological break? You and I know that, Ramirez said patiently. But a family court judge hasn't met Lily. All they see is a petition from a concerned mother, supported by a longtime family friend and business associate, claiming a traumatized father has fled with his child. What do I do? Jack asked, the wall seeming to close in around him. Bring Lily to the station immediately, Ramirez instructed. We need to document that she's safe and unharmed and take her official statement about Amanda's treatment of her. Once that's on record, it will be much harder for Amanda to push this custody petition through. We'll be there in 30 minutes, Jack promised, ending the call and hurrying back inside. Sarah looked up from her laptop, concern evident on her face. What's happened? Jack quickly explained the situation as he gathered their few belongings. Sarah's expression darkened with each word. She's trying to get legal control of Lily, she said, closing her laptop. Once she has that, she could take Lily anywhere, make her disappear. The thought sent a chill through Jack's core. I won't let that happen. Sarah nodded grimly. I'm coming with you. Lily trusts me, and I was a witness to Amanda's behavior at the art club picnic. She was rough with Lily when she thought no one was watching. Jack accepted the offer gratefully. The more allies they had, the better. Lily woke easily, sensing the urgency in the adults around her. She asked few questions as Jack helped her dress and gather her things, intuitively understanding that this was not a time for dawdling or resistance. They were halfway to the front door when Sarah's phone rang. She answered, listened for a moment, then turned to Jack, her face pale. That was my neighbor across the street, she said, her voice tight. There's a black SUV parked at the corner. 2 men inside, watching the house. Jack moved to the front window, carefully peering through the blinds. Sure enough, a black Suburban with tinted windows was positioned for a clear view of Sarah's house. Amanda knows we're here, he said grimly, stepping back from the window. But how? Sarah's expression was troubled. When Amanda brought Lily to the art club picnic, she was very interested in where I lived, asked a lot of questions about my connection to Rebecca. I didn't think much of it at the time. She was cataloging potential safe harbors. Jack finished the thought. Places I might go if I ever suspected her. What do we do now? Sarah asked, glancing toward Lily, who was watching them with wide-eyed, solemn eyes. Jack thought quickly. Is there a back way out? Through a neighbor's yard, perhaps? Sarah nodded. Through the garden. My neighbor, Mrs. Chen, is in Taiwan visiting her daughter. Her gate is never locked, and her driveway exits onto the next street over. Perfect. Jack crouched down to Lily's level. Sweetheart, we're going to play a little game, okay? Like hide and seek, but we're going to sneak through the garden very quietly so the men in the black car can't see us. Can you do that? Lily nodded, her expression serious. Like ninjas, Daddy? Despite everything, Jack smiled. Exactly like ninjas. He turned to Sarah. Do you have a car we can use? They'll be watching for my Range Rover. Better, Sarah said, reaching for her phone. I'll call us a rideshare to pick us up at the corner past Mrs. Chen's house. They'll be looking for your vehicle or mine, not a random car. Jack nodded approval, impressed by her quick thinking. Let's move fast. They slipped out the back door and through Sarah's garden, keeping low among the flowering shrubs and vegetable beds. Lily followed Jack's lead perfectly, her small face set in concentration, Mr. Flopsy tucked securely under one arm. They made it through Mrs. Chen's yard without incident and emerged onto a quiet residential street 1 block over. The rideshare arrived within minutes, and they piled in, Jack giving the driver an address 3 blocks from the police station. Why not go directly to the station? Sarah whispered as they pulled away. Just being cautious, Jack murmured. If Amanda has William's resources behind her, she could have people watching the station too. The ride passed in tense silence, Jack constantly checking to ensure they weren't being followed. When they reached their destination, they walked the remaining blocks to the station, taking a circuitous route and doubling back twice to shake any potential tail. As they approached the station, Jack's phone rang. William's name flashed on the screen. "Don't answer it," Sarah advised. "They're trying to track your location." Jack nodded, silencing the call, but a text message appeared immediately after. "Jack, this has gone far enough. Amanda is frantic with worry. The police are looking for you and Lily. Whatever you think is happening, we can work it out. Just bring Lily home." The message was perfectly crafted to sound reasonable, concerned, friendly. If Jack hadn't read Rebecca's journal, hadn't learned about William's true identity and decades-long deception, he might have believed it. "Nice try, Will," Jack muttered, pocketing the phone as they climbed the steps to the police station. Detective Ramirez was waiting for them in the lobby, her expression shifting from concern to relief as she saw Lily safe and apparently untroubled. "Thank you for coming in so quickly," she said, leading them to a private room. "Mrs. Reynolds has been here already this morning, quite distraught about Lily's abduction." "Daddy didn't abduct me," Lily said firmly, her small face indignant. "We're hiding from the bad people." Ramirez's lips twitched in what might have been a suppressed smile. "So I gather." She turned to Sarah. "And you are?" "Sarah Jenkins. I'm Lily's art teacher and was Rebecca Reynolds' closest friend. I've been giving them refuge since yesterday afternoon." Ramirez nodded, making a note. "Mr. Reynolds, I need to take Lily's statement separately. It will carry more weight if she speaks to our child psychologist without you present." Jack hesitated, protective instincts flaring. "It's standard procedure in cases like this," Ramirez assured him, "and it will help counter the narrative Mrs. Reynolds is constructing about your mental state and Lily's safety." "Can Miss Sarah come with me?" Lily asked, clutching Mr. Flopsy tighter. Ramirez considered this, then nodded. "That would be acceptable. Miss Jenkins, you understand you're not to prompt or influence Lily's testimony in any way?" "Of course," Sarah agreed. "I'll be right outside the whole time," Jack promised Lily, kneeling to her level. "And Mr. Flopsy will keep you brave, right?" Lily nodded solemnly, taking Sarah's hand. "Don't worry, Daddy. I'll tell them all about the lady with red hair." As Ramirez led Lily and Sarah away, Jack felt a curious mixture of pride and sorrow. His 6-year-old daughter was displaying more courage in the face of danger than many adults would. But she shouldn't have to be brave. She should be playing with friends, drawing pictures, believing the world was safe and adults were trustworthy. Instead, she was being interviewed by police about her stepmother's abusive behavior, hiding from people who wished her harm, caught in a web of adult deception and vengeance that had begun decades before her birth. Jack sank into a chair, the weight of the past 24 hours crashing down upon him. He thought of Rebecca's letter, her final message from beyond the grave. "Protect our daughter. She is the best of both of us." "I'm trying, Rebecca," he whispered to the empty room. "I swear to you, I'm trying." But as he sat there, waiting for Lily's interview to conclude, Jack Reynolds couldn't escape the gnawing fear that his best might not be enough to save them from the storm that William Pritchard had spent 25 years creating. And somewhere across town, in the luxury penthouse Jack had purchased for his new bride, Amanda Mitchell Reynolds was setting in motion the final phase of a plan decades in the making, a plan that would destroy Jack Reynolds utterly, unless he could uncover the truth hidden on Rebecca's USB drive. A truth that would shock even Jack, who thought he had already discovered the full measure of William's betrayal. He was wrong. The worst was yet to come.